list, PogChamp, new ban list, PogChamp. I uploaded my thoughts about the points update last time they changed the points in Genesys, and you all demanded more. You said, Joseph, we need to hear your thoughts as the only person who's ever played a full game of Genesys. Well, sure. I'll tell you what I'm excited to see in this list, and that's what was forecast. Changes to Radiant Typhoon to bring it in line with every other deck. Droll and Lockbird taken out behind the shed. I'd like to see some of the frustrating cards in the format taken out to pasture. I'm talking about Rongo Nimiad, maybe some supplemental hits to Onomat as well. And I'd like to see a lot brought down. A lot of the cards that currently feature in decks like Dracotail and Ninja, not Dracotail, Dragon Maiden Ninja that could enable fun new strategies to worm their way into the format. Finally, I'd like them to make a decision about if macro is or is not a floodgate. Die-fi to 100, please. So, let's talk about it. First and foremost, I can see already there are 3 Dracotail changes. That's Phimena to 30, Ketu to 15, Dracotail Flame to 3. Very, very good news. The Dracotail cards were part of an extremely powerful build of Dracotail that was absolutely eating up the mother tables and leaving no crumbs. For that reason, it's good to see them increase the pointage. For me, it is important that the top decks in Genesys are not just the top decks in the TCG. And I think they have said as much as well, and for that reason, we'll probably see some Vanquished Soul hits on here too. All right, next up. Droll to 25. It's better than I could have ever imagined. Droll to 25. Lucky it wasn't 21, 25. Okay, you're never going to see this card again. Thank the Lord, you are never going to see this card again. And I also appreciate, you can see right there, Nibiru the Primal being to 6 puts it in a weird position with the 3-point hand traps as well. Nibiru the Primal being going to 5 was really scary to me because I thought that would precipitate a ton of Nibiru play, which is really frustrating for a lot of strategies to play through, but it didn't really. That's mostly because Droll was just so much more available as a 5-point hand trap you could play 3 of that wins you the game on the spot. But I think you will see Nibiru pop up a lot. I'm glad they're making at least a little bit of a concerted effort to ensure it doesn't automatically find its way into every list. Next up. Number 3, Cicada King to 10. So this is an extra deck hit to Radiant Typhoon because it is playing Cicada King. This will make it a little harder to do so, but won't change the math. It also hurts the 3-slop deck, which I like a lot. Typhoon Chant to 10 makes sense. Eldam to 7 makes sense. Totem Bird to 10 makes sense. That is the extent of the Radiant Typhoon hits. Completely honestly, that's a fine position for it to occupy. Radiant Typhoon was powerful not only as a solo deck, just playing Radiant Typhoon cards, but also when paired with Runic. They have forecasted main deck hits to that as well. Also as part of a 3-slop build, just as a mechanism to get bodies onto the field without committing to your normal summon when you're going first. None of that is possible anymore. Chant is probably a mandatory 3 of. Eldam is probably a mandatory 3 of, which means any Radiant Typhoon deck worth its salt is going to be entering a tournament with at least 37 points main deck and 20 extra deck, which means that you only have about 45 to work with, and you can no longer do the thing where you ignore the conceit of Genesys and just play some Pots of Greed. All right, next up. Runic tip to 10, great. Runic's not great in Genesys, but it is playable alongside the Radiant Typhoons most of the time. Tip to 10 is totally in line with other comparably powerful cards, including Chant. Hecahands Gygas to 5. They were forthcoming about the fact that they want the Hecahands cards that interact with your opponent's stuff to cost points, because doing so is an effect that interacts in a way that's really frustrating to try and play around. Same concept with things like Kashtira or Unicorn. I'm not surprised to see Gygas there, but these cards aren't particularly powerful. Xeno to 10, I don't expect them to be played. Cool Tune Clip, Cool Tune Q, both to 5. These are fine. Cool Tune is a deck that could find a home in Genesys for sure. Putting these cards to 5 respectively will still enable you to explore it without doing the thing the Radiant Typhoon did and just completely foregoing the concept of Genesys. Next up. Dododo Warrior 270. Dude, I cannot describe to you how happy I am to see that. Dododo Warrior 270. That's insane. So here's why that happened. First off, Dododo Warrior is the most powerful card in Genesys. I'm on record saying that. I think it's the most powerful card in Genesys. It's powerful for a number of reasons. The first reason, of course, is it enables Onomat, one of the top decks in the format, to put up an unbelievable board just by virtue of being itself. It can send Dododo Dwarf Go 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 Glove and get like 15 materials worth of monsters into rotation. That's not all it can do. It can also enable a free rank 4 in any deck that has the points necessary to devote to it. So a lot of decks were just playing Dododo Warrior and making Rafflesia so that they could get hand trap protection through a copy of Gravedigger's Trap Hole before they ran into something like a Droll and Lockbird. It sucked. I'm super glad that this card is no longer available. It's way too strong for this format. Case for K9 20 also makes sense. This was a mechanism by which people were accessing the K9 monsters, which do cost individual points without having to pay the cost on all of them, just playing like one-ofs. This card is super available in K9 as well, courtesy of Lantern, so that going down is probably for the best. Yokel to 33, Ripper to 30, also great. The K9s were very accessible in this format and probably shouldn't be. And Souls to 15, Circular to 15. Circular to 15 I'm not super thrilled about. I think that card was in an okay position, but Souls was probably the best 0-point card in the format. There's a Dual Logs video about it, and I think it was going to be a matter of time before people start splashing him in things. I have a couple of decks that were experimenting with him, and I was like, oh, this definitely can't be allowed. Importantly, this also means they may not hit some of the new Dark Magician stuff coming out in the next set as thoroughly as they would otherwise. Next up, Regulus 20. Regulus is probably the second most powerful 0-point card. Sure, generic negate, generic-ish negate probably should be costed there. Designator to 20, this is the coder tax, because, of course, Crosshair Designator was a fantastic opportunity to get rid of Droll, to get rid of Nibiru. Now the cards that beat the cards are no longer as strong. I think they are on record saying they want you to feel good knowing your hand traps will resolve. And I agree with that philosophy for sure. Rafflesia to 20, same concept as above. They don't want decks splashing it just to get Gravedigger's insurance. Lunalight Liger Dancer to 51. Thank the fucking Lord. So Lunalight doesn't have access to Tiger, but it's still a top deck in this format, and that's because the rest of the Lunalight cards are really good. Liger Dancer is very difficult for decks to deal with, especially because a lot of the ways to deal with that card are not available. This means you can only ever have one of them. And realistically, you're going to have none of them because this is such a huge point change that they probably won't ever fuck with it. Rongo Nimiad to 68 is not 6-7. I don't know. This is fine. What was the problem with putting it at 100? The less I see this card, the better. Super Quandle Mech King, Great Magnus, congratulations, Ease, you did it. This brings it more in line with other comparable bosses that are hard to get rid of. This one's also kind of a floodgate because it colossuses you. Super Quant is a playable deck in this format and will continue to be a playable deck after this. I think the thing that makes Super Quant playable is it's one of the strategies that gets to wield the Heralds, which I think we may see later on this list. Pearly Noir for 33. I mean, you are just seeing a pattern here, right? All the big unaffected guys are getting hit. Pearly to 10, and Pearly Sleepy Memory to 10 to make up for that differential. Pearly to 7 as well. Gaga Gaga Girl going to 15. These are just balance hits directed at Onomat, one of the top decks in the format. Big Gabonga is part of the 3-slop deck that was enabled by Eldam and Suen being 0 points, alongside many other things. Grand Entrance moving down to 20. Lets you play it in Memento maybe, but makes up for the change on Gabonga. Jam Dragon Drive, part of that 3-slop deck as well, but also part of another independently powerful deck playing the new Psychic Banish monsters alongside the Punk monsters. It felt weird that that deck had literally no hits. That's the only hit in it, so whatever. Galaxy Photon Dragon to 15. Who the fuck is Galaxy Photon Dragon? Oh, the 4? That gets you to Tachyon, so probably for the best. Nash Knight to 15, sure, really playing around with the margins of this one. Zenmaity to 15, dog, we're breaking wind up. That's not going to change anything. Although Zenmaity is pretty powerful in the 3-slop deck, so maybe there's a new direction for it that uses cards that are banned in the TCG, I hope so. Hunter to 86, they just don't want you to play Zenmaity and Hunter in the same deck. That's fine. Hunter isn't a good card. It's not worth your time to try and do a Hunter loop anyway. Primathmech Alimbertion to 20, weird that there was a 3-mat Search Any 4 available. Good that they are hitting it. Primera to 2, Trudea to 1, Maizen to 0, Yagamaru to 0. Yagamaru was pointed. Can you imagine? I like all of these. These are hits that they were forthcoming about. They said, we're frustrated that these decks aren't seeing play, despite the fact that in testing they were extremely powerful. Deception of the Sinful Spoils up to 40. Unfortunately, a really powerful card. Ash to 0, Poplar to 0. Those are also adjustments based on them thinking Snake Eyes was going to be better than it was. Hidden City to 0, an adjustment for the Guru deck. Levianeer to 0, Dragon's Light and Darkness to 0, Aestheticism to 0, Shien's Dojo to 0, Barrier to 20, Nadir Servant to 20, Lady Lab of the Silver Castle to 40 to make up for Big Welcome Lab and Welcome Lab going down to 20 apiece, Philoregius to 10 to make up for Xiao to 10, Dragon Maid to 10, Dragon Maid Tiding to 10, Sword Soul Emergence to 10, Moye to 0, Ashuna to 3, Ding Dong to 20, Charge of the Light Brigade to 25. These are all hugely welcome changes, all changes based on the amount of games that the players got to experience in a situation where the devs didn't. In internal testing, all these decks were killers. Now they are not. So unsurprising to see them available once again. Speaking of, Wandering Griffin Rider, Rite of Aramasir, Water Enchantress of the Temple, Tamer Editor, Proving Ground Rejection, Sulfador, Inclusion, and Smyger, Thystvern all changed, as is Fallen in the Virtuous and the Albion fusions, or the Albaz fusions. They spoke as well about how they intended to change the point values with respect to where points were allocated for some of these engines. They didn't like that Wandering Griffin Rider's 20-point cost meant that you couldn't play Rite of Aramasir and other stuff with like an illegal nightline, that the way Gladiator Beasts work, you couldn't play them unless you were going in on Tamer Editor, which was boring. Same with the Crystron monsters. I like these a lot. And I know Scarlon will be happy about this Fallen in the Virtuous change. Happy to see that go to 40. No one was playing it at 15. It's unfortunate because it's a perfect card for Genesis, but it's also pretty good in TCG, so if you want to see play, there's a great way to do it. Light and Dark End Sublimation Dragon going to 1 apiece and Full Metal going to 33 is really funny. Next up, I think these are just hits based on power level. No one's playing Assault Synchron or Change of Heart or Snatch Steal or DDKC or Impulse or Spiral or Duality. FB Goods going to 7, but to make way for some powerful spells going down. Premature Burial to 3, Reborn to 5, Dimension Fusion to 40. They want us to brew with this fucking card. Return from the Different Dimension to 40 as well. This card is totally fine. Return. Dimension Fusion, maybe not. We'll see. And it looks like that's it. So I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am happy with these changes. If I had to identify what's going to be powerful in the wake of these changes, there are some decks that are top tier that did not receive hits for sure. I think that all of the decks I expected to be hit, the Radiant Typhoons, the new decks coming in, Phantom Revengers, Onomat, and the like were hit, and a lot of the point values they said would decreased. I am a little concerned that they did not resolve one outstanding problem, which is determining if Macrocosmos is a floodgate. Di-Fi is a very popular card out of the board as an auto win going first. I don't see it on here anywhere. That rankles with the fact that other comparable effects that cause a macro to happen, Dark Law, Dimension Shifter, are all pointed. So I'm still a little confused about that. I hope they give us a little bit of clarity in the next blog post. Chat's got a good example as well. Shared Ride is a card that's seen a lot of experimentation in the last couple of weeks as a card that just wins you the game going first, and it's not on here as well. Still, great changes all around. Happy to see they are backing off of, we are going to let decks be totally free on release after what that precipitated for the Radiant Typhoon format. Happy to see they are taking action against the top decks in the format so they don't resemble those in the TCG. And God, am I ever happy to see Droll and Lockbird shot through the eyes. Oh my God. What will I be playing in this upcoming format? Baby, you already know it's going to be Magical Scientist. I'm going to play something good. All right. Bye-bye.